Isaiah's got a facial contusion. He was ruled out, didn't return. We'll check him out tomorrow.
Mark, it's rare that you guys have a grip on the game defensively the way that you did, and then aren't able to kind of maintain it or get the car back on the road. What did you see as something that they did tonight, or you all didn't do at a high enough level tonight defensively?
Well, first of all, credit them. I mean, they kept playing and ran all the way through the game, and that was a great comeback by them. So they deserve to win. As far as us, I thought defensively in the second half we just weren't as sharp as we were early. In the third quarter, we outpaced them with the scoring. Like, we really moved the scoreboard in the third. In the fourth, I actually thought we got pretty good shots on offense. I thought we generated good looks. I liked our attacks. We were pretty sharp on that end. But that's why you got to get stops, and rebounds and keep them off the free throw line. They shot 32 free throws in the second half. So, a lot we can learn from on that end of the floor. But, I thought we played pretty well, until that point in the game.
Mark, just the fourth quarter and on, how much of that do you think was, that you couldn't give another look because Isaiah was out the game?
I mean, certainly those guys help us defensively, so I'm not going to deny that. But we should have enough, especially with the lineups they were playing. I mean, they went as small as we did for parts of the game. So it wasn't like we got outmatched by their size, so to speak. And offensively, I thought, like I said, our attacks were pretty good. We got pretty good shots. So, I just thought we had to be sharper with the stuff, but it wasn't a personnel thing tonight. I just thought we were capable of playing better, and we didn't.
In situations like that, because, Shea gets doubled and the ball's taken out of his hands almost every game. Maybe not to that degree, but it happens pretty often. Did you feel like a guy like J-Dub sort of had the tools to kind of shape that quarter?
Like I said, I thought we got decent looks and decent attacks. I mean, we're going to see, we saw the whole gauntlet tonight. We saw the double teams at half court. Like I said, I thought most of our attacks against that were pretty good. We saw the blitzes, last night, and we attacked that very well. We attacked it pretty well tonight. We saw zone both nights. I thought we attacked those well. Sometimes you have to evaluate the process of the shots you get, and I thought, I'll go look at it, but I thought our shots were decent. What was disappointing was the defense. I mean, that's the way we need to slam the door on games. That's the way we have slammed the door on games, and we didn't do that tonight, and they made us pay for it, so they deserve credit as well.
Any common thing, the fourth quarter tonight, second quarter yesterday, or last night when they made the big run to take the lead at half?
I mean, just you go in and out. You have parts of the game where you're not you're not throwing your fastball. You're not your best. And really good teams recognize that and course correct it quickly. Over the course of 50-something games, we've done that pretty well. Tonight, we didn't course correct it quickly enough. I thought, like I said, in the third, we got a little loose defensively, but we outscored them in that quarter. And then in the fourth, we remained loose defensively, and we didn't outscore them, and they made us pay for it. So I don't know about commonalities that we can take away, but we got to learn it's a 48-minute game, and we got to stack possessions regardless of the score, and we learned the hard way tonight.
You guys held Nas to 9 points through the first three quarters. Just what did you see during that period in terms of helping contain him, and just how much does it speak to how tough he is to defend with the way he finished tonight?
Yeah, he was really good down the stretch, but I thought we did a really good job especially in the first half on Reed and on Edwards specifically with the game plan. They had 17 points in the second, and we really had them playing on our terms for a lot of the game. I thought we got loose in our help. We got loose with our discipline, with fouling. They shot 32 second half free throws, and a lot of those were our breakdowns. So it's more like our focus, our intensity, our mental toughness to stay in the game. That's been a very strong point of our team all season. So we're not going to overreact to this either, but that certainly was the issue tonight.
Coach, coming up short in those last 4 minutes of regulation after Jalen Williams scored, what do you think played into that in terms of you guys just unable to put a field goal in those last, 4 minutes of the fourth?
Yeah, I mean, it's tricky because it comes down to shot quality and what you generate. And like I said, I thought most of the fourth, even from eight minutes on, I thought we did a really good job of attacking and getting decent shots that we just didn't finish. But that stuff is the most variant part of the game, and that's why you're the stuff you can control is what you want to be there every single night. And good teams are consistent on those things throughout the game when you go in and out of shooting, when you're hot and when you're in a drought. We've been that team for most of the season. We weren't that team in the fourth quarter tonight. We got to learn from it, but also not overreact to it.
Yeah, the Thunder never going to overreact to these sort of outcomes. They're really focused on their process. And tonight, uncharacteristic in terms of the focus and the endurance, as Coach Daignault said, a 48-minute game. And typically that's something that we see the Thunder really thrive in. They're the team that's typically the one sprinting to the finish line in these games.
Yeah, that was a very thorough game recap from Coach Mark there, and really hit a lot of the elements that I think really played out in this game. And when you kind of separate the emotion of it and some of the low-hanging fruit things about, SGA didn't get any shots, that's kind of the casual take, I think, in a lot of ways, is that when you just kind of zoom out and you look at really kind of what happened in the game, it's exactly what Coach Mark talked about. Good process, good shots, but it was on the defensive end, not being able to produce those stops to slam the door, which is something this Thunder team has done all season long. Because look, 82 games in a season, this sort of stuff happens in the NBA a lot. The Thunder have just been kind of just unbelievably immune to it to this point. But you watch NBA games across the league, these types of unbelievable comebacks come out of nowhere quite often. So this isn't unusual. It's just unusual for it to happen to this team.
And the one thing we do know about this team, they're learning from wins as much as they're learning from losses. So every experience they have on the court is an opportunity for them to grow and improve. Tonight, no different whatsoever. They're certainly going to use this to make this team better. All right, stick with us here on Thunder Live, because when we come back, we got to break down the game of Jalen Williams. J-Dub scored over 20 points in this game tonight. 53 minutes of game action here inside of Paycom Center as the Thunder and the Wolves went into overtime. The Thunder falling just shy 131-128 as we welcome you back inside of Paycom Center and into Thunder Live. Now, we've talked a lot about what went on in this game, but there were a couple of bright spots, particularly for the Thunder and their offense throughout the night, because we did see a lot of OKC offense, especially through those first three quarters. By the end of it, everybody that stepped onto the floor for the Thunder scored, and the Thunder had 3 players scored 19 or more, including Jalen Williams, J-Dub, who had 27 points, 6 rebounds, 6 assists.
Yeah, we talked about a pregame, Paris, about the importance of balance within this Thunder team, and that's so much of it. You understand that SGA is going to draw so much attention from the defensive scheme. So to have players like J-Dub that can create their own shot, and he really had it going early in this one on both ends of the floor. We see that so unique for him to be able to switch on to a guy like Naz Reid. Again, that's what the Thunder's scheme was so difficult to deal with defensively, is when you have a guy like Dub that can guard the opposing big and let Hartenstein kind of roam off, or Chet or somebody else. But Dub obviously had it going on both ends of the floor throughout this one.
His versatility is just so outstanding, and it shows up every single game. It is incredible what he's able to do. He played the 5 tonight. You saw him guard basically every position, and here are his final numbers: 27, 6, and 6. 10th game of the season with 25, 5, and 5. His ability to impact the game on a multitude of levels, that's why he is our forward player of the game tonight. And Royce, that's why he's been a staple in this rotation all season long.
You mentioned it too, of him playing the 5. I mean, that wasn't something necessarily planned for this one. The Thunder do like to transition to small ball at different points in this one, but with Hartenstein kind of unexpectedly getting his nose bloodied and having to leave this game early, obviously again no Chet, so that that kind of downsize became something necessary. But to have a player like Dub that is able to just immediately shift into that mode is something that's a muscle that's been built from other times where he's had to do that sort of thing. So that's something very unique to him that he's able to do.
Yeah, this is not new for J-Dub. He has had to flex that muscle a couple of times, actually a lot of times throughout this season as the Thunder dealt with injuries. Well, the Thunder was here for a short time, not a long time. They're heading back out on the road tomorrow, and they are facing off against the Brooklyn Nets on Wednesday. When we come back, we'll give you a full breakdown on what to expect as the Thunder head out on a 3-game road trip that starts in the Big Apple. Here in Oklahoma City, the Thunder fall 131-128 in overtime tonight. After the game, we'll get you over to the press room and hear from Shai Gilgeous-Alexander.
Shai, it's not often that you guys have control of a game defensively like that and aren't able to kind of maintain that hold on it. What happened in the second half that felt like they were able to get more loose?
I think we took our foot off the pedal, obviously, defensively especially. Offensively, they were trapping me at half court, and we got a lot of good looks. They just didn't go in. And that's basketball. You make it, you miss. But defense is something we've hung our hat on. And because of our defense, why we were in the position that we were in that game, and we took our foot off the pedal, it's a lesson to learn.
Who else we got?
Oh.
Anybody? Go ahead, Myron.
Yeah, a game like this, anything common between the second quarter last night, fourth quarter tonight, because you lost the lead in the second quarter last night before halftime, then tonight?
Usually when there's big runs like that, it's like the team that's more aggressive, team that's more physical, and team that is getting stops. Like, you don't string together a run like that without getting stops, and they did so, and we didn't, and we failed to. And in the second quarter last night and in the fourth tonight was the same thing.
Was that zone any different? I mean, because both nights they threw a lot of zone, of course, trapping you up top and everything.
Yeah, the zone. I think the zone was a little bit. It's like the zone worked better for them last night. I think we figured out we did better against the zone tonight. Now the trapping at the top and us still getting looks. Like, I think offensively we were finding that offense wasn't the problem. It was defense late in the game.
Gallo's got another one. Then Joe Masato.
I think they shot 32 free throws in the second half. How much of that did you feel like was, more controllable on y'all's end to defend without putting them on the line like that?
Yeah, usually when you're the more forceful team, you get fouls drawn and you're at the free throw line a lot more. And I think that's what that was, especially in the fourth quarter and overtime. They were downhill. They were very aggressive, and because of that, they were rewarded free throws.
Go ahead, Joe.
Shay, you guys played them right before the All-Star break and obviously back-to-back coming out of it. What do you make of these kind of series in the middle of the season, facing a team, 3 times in such a condensed period?
Yeah, you try to just do the same thing you do every other night. You just try to get better. You try to, obviously playing them so close together helps with like game planning and stuff. But at the end of the night, you just try to get better. Nothing more than that.
Does it lead to more intensity?
After one quick game at home, it is back on the road again for the Thunder, who ships out for a 3-game road trip. Tomorrow, the Thunder's going to head out from Oklahoma City and head out to Brooklyn to take on the Nets on Wednesday. Going to spend a couple of days in the Big Apple before flying back south to Atlanta to face on the Hawks. And then after that, very interesting parts of this road trip. The Thunder are going to come back and take on the San Antonio Spurs on Sunday. That's the front end of the back-to-back, because after that, the Thunder returns home and faces the Rockets here on March 3rd right after that. So a whole lot happening over the next week for the Thunder. But for a preview of that first matchup against the Nets, let's send it over to Chris Fisher and Michael Cage.
Thank you, Paris. This baseball series with the Minnesota Timberwolves is officially over, and now the Thunder going to get ready to head back out on the road. One of the longer road trips of the season on the East Coast. Let's go to the big city. The Brooklyn Nets, this 3-game road trip starts there. Michael, this Brooklyn team, all of a sudden, they've won 7 out of their last 9. The more they win, the more all of a sudden they're starting to put themselves in that play-in conversation in the Eastern Conference.
Well, and it's very realistic for them, too. They got 21 wins against 35 losses, but at the same time, they're thinking, look, we can get into that, out of the play-in, into the playoffs, and even get lower because of how the Eastern Conference is structured in terms of its competitiveness right now.
Yeah, they got some good young players for Jordi Fernandez, the head coach. You don't see Brooklyn often on national TV. They struggle a little bit scoring the basketball, Michael, just under 105 points per game. That's 29th in the NBA. So the Thunder are going to have to figure that out going forward. That game is going to be 6:30 Central, 7:30 local time on the East Coast right here on FanDuel Sports Network, starting off that East Coast road trip. And so, Michael, you're going to have to put this game here in overtime, this loss against the Minnesota Timberwolves behind you. And what's going to be one of the focuses for OKC going forward?
Well, just keeping your foot on the pedal. You did a good job of building up a big lead tonight, and you lost in overtime. It's a learning experience for one of the youngest teams in the association. But moving forward, playing the Brooklyn Nets, only 21 wins against 35 losses. Don't play the record. Play what you're capable of doing, and you'll be fine.
All right, 3-game road trip Wednesday night. It starts in Brooklyn at Barclays Center.
On the road again. Well, let's flash back to the first time the Thunder faced off against the Brooklyn Nets. It was here inside of Paycom Center, and this game featured a whole lot of threes from Isaiah Joe, lighting it up from behind the arc. He had 8 of them in this one.
I mean, and again, just the process of these shots, the ball hitting the paint, kicking them out to Isaiah Joe. He's been shooting the ball so well for the last basically 2 months now, Paris. It really kind of started in New York with him breaking out at Madison Square Garden. So he gets to go back to the big city and play the other team there and hopefully continue on with his hot shooting streak.
Yeah, the Thunder also poured in 127 points in that game as a group, shot 55% from the field, and that was also one of their 7 wire-to-wire victories they had this season. So a whole lot of defense in that game, also a whole lot of offense thanks to Isaiah Joe. The Thunder gonna try to turn the page from this one, take the lessons and apply them as they head out on this 3-game road trip. Royce, as you look ahead to this trip, which features, a couple of Eastern Conference opponents, and you come back, you play San Antonio, what's key for Oklahoma City to take with them from this game?
Well, obviously, and I think we saw it there from even hearing from SGA, is that, you just put it behind you. It's 1 of 82.
Yeah.
You go back to 0-0 on the scoreboard. We hear all those sorts of things, but that is the reality of it. So you turn the page and you get ready to play the Brooklyn Nets, and you try to correct some of those issues. You may see some of those same sorts of things. Teams are very keen on like, oh, did that work? So let's try that too. But, the Nets are very well coached with what they do with Jordi Fernandez. So they're going to have something up their sleeve as well, but just trust that process of your offense and trust that the shots are going to go in the next time around.
Well, the Thunder are going to keep moving on here in the regular season. This group getting better with each and every game. Going to take the lessons from this one as they head out on the road for a 3-game road trip. A quick stop here in Oklahoma City, and we got 53 minutes of game action. The Thunder falling just shy to the Minnesota Timberwolves, wrapping up the season series between these two teams. Now they head out. First stop on this road trip, Brooklyn, to take on the Nets. That game is on Wednesday at 6:30, but Thunder Live will get you going at 6 p.m. Until then, thanks so much for tuning in. Have a great night.